I have arrived safe and sound in Scotland. I did order some books. It was so horny. Oh my god. It is date night and I am about to head off very, very soon. But before I did that, I wanted to let you know what is going to be happening in this upcoming week. So I'm not going to be home very long because tomorrow I'm going to Edinburgh because this year's Rare event is going to be on Friday and Saturday. So I'm going to go stay with Leanne from Literary Diversions from tomorrow till Monday. So we have a bit of time either side of Rare to do other stuff, some cozy reading time, some general Scottish exploration. And I'm hoping to have a grand old time. Now, if you guys are not familiar with Rare, Rare is a romance festival that I have attended the past couple of years. Rare stands for Romance, Author and Reader Events, and it's essentially like a massive sign-in, like a Polycon and Book Bonanza, but like the UK equivalent. So this is actually the last time as well that I'm going to be attending for a while, purely because there's like 200 plus authors here, and every year we have some repeats. So there's some authors there this year that have been the last 2 years. There's also a bunch of new ones that like haven't been the years that I've been, but I just find, especially because I like to read series and it sometimes takes me a while to complete a series, that I'm just not reading these authors fast enough to need to go every year. So maybe I'll go the year after next, maybe the year after that, but this will be my last one for a while. And if you saw last week's vlog, you'll know that I'm actually only going to see, I think, 7 authors out of like 200 or something. So like the value is just not there for me anymore at this moment. But we are actually going to see if we can bring some more value to it, because the book that I'm going to be starting very, very soon, the first potential book for this vlog, is going to be by an author that is at Rare. Now, I don't have a physical copy of this book, so maybe I'm going to have to Amazon Prime myself one real quick if I have a good time. But that one is, what is that one actually? I've just realized that I've come into this to tell you about it. No idea what it is about. It is my Patreon pick from August, so I'm like a little bit behind. And it is Ash's pick, so thank you very much, Ash. This one is A Kiss of Iron by Claire Sager. I'm also participating in Magical Readathon, which if you don't know what I'm talking about, I will link the announcement video down below because I'm not going to get into it here. And while this one isn't on my Magical Readathon TBR, it does actually manage to fit for another Magical Readathon prompt that I'm eligible to complete, and that is the first prompt for shapeshifting, which is inanimate objects jewelry, book with jewelry on the cover or in the title, and this one does have a crown on it. So in terms of what it's about, it's a fantasy romance. I think it's about fae, and that is all I know. So I'm going to refresh myself and see if I can give you any information on that. Oh, I remember. So this one is the first book in the Shadows of the Tenebrous Court series, and it is following a penniless noble who is given a well-paid job that could be her salvation so that she doesn't lose, I don't know, all her wealth or whatever. And she is tasked with spying on a powerful fae lord known as the Night Queen Shadow. So by the looks of it, she's going to have a conflict of interest where, to save herself, she wants to reveal all of these guys' secrets. I'm going to go out on a limb and assume that she starts to fall for him, making that job very difficult for her. So at the moment, to achieve my actual Magical Readathon TBR, every day I have to read 126 pages of my Magical Readathon TBR before I can move on to my extra reading, the rest of my actual TBR. So this one is my secondary book. At this point in today, I have already achieved my Magical Readathon goal, so I can go ahead and pick that up whenever I want to. I am currently reading Norwegian Wood by Murakami. I am listening to the audiobook of this, but I don't know how much audio I'm going to listen to while I'm away, so this may end up on pause until I'm back. I'm also reading The Book of Witches, which is an anthology that I'm also going to be putting on pause until I'm back. And so the Magical Readathon book that I'm actually going to be taking with me is one that I am very, very excited to read. This one is the second prompt, I think, for Conjurations. Yes, it is Conjure Laurels, a book that won an award, and this one won the Goodreads Choice Award in, was it 2014? I thought it was 2014, which is The Book of Life by Deborah Harkness. So I'm going to be starting this one on the train tomorrow, most likely. But this one is the third book in the Discovery of Witches series, series, which is a paranormal romance series following a historian called Diana who is searching for some manuscripts for a research project, and she ends up summoning one from the Bodleian Library that pertains to the origins of all of the magical creatures of the world. She herself is a witch, but she doesn't actively practice, and when she summons this manuscript, she doesn't need it for her research, so she just sends it back, and lots of demons, vampires and witches start to congregate around her because they would like the manuscript for their own purposes. So one of the people who is drawn to her at this time is Matthew, who is an ancient and very powerful vampire. He also wants the manuscript because he believes that vampires are getting weaker with every generation, and he would like to use the information in this manuscript to help rectify that. And along the way, he ends up protecting Diana as he is inexplicably drawn closer to her, and all of the other vampires, demons and witches that want this manuscript start to threaten her life. So I really loved book one. The atmosphere is so good for this time of year. Book two, I didn't love the plot and the pacing, or the setting and the pacing maybe. It was the pacing that was mainly the issue, but it still retained the writing style, Deborah Harkness's writing style that I love, and also the atmosphere that I love in this series. So I'm really excited to get back into book three, because I think that book two is a common book that people don't like as much, but book three kind of brings it back up to the standard of book one. I will of course let you know how I get along the way, but I just wanted to establish where we were currently at and what books we were starting. And yeah, I guess I'll see y'all on the way to Scotland.
Up with the couple. Spring is the season that wakes me alive, and fall is the season to contemplate life. Oh.
So I have arrived safe and sound in Scotland. Leanne and Harry have gone to Tesco to get some stuff in, and I have just had a shower. I've changed from like a normal outside outfit into like pure inside clothes. I'm so tired. I had to get up at 6:30 to get my train today because I went straight from York, so I had like an hour drive, and then the train was at I think 9:55, so I got up real early and I'm just feeling my soul leave my body. I did not manage to start A Kiss of Iron last night. We went to the cinema and then came home and I did like some more packing. And The Book of Life by Deborah Harkness I started today, but not only was I tired on the train, I was hungry, so I have read some, but I'm only like 74 pages into it. We start with like a big gathering of vampires in here, and I kind of felt like it was a bit twee. I can't lie, like I felt like the whole everyone being gathered together and the meetings that we were having felt a little bit forced. But now that I'm a little bit past that, like now that I've eased into it a little bit, I think it just picks up directly after book two ends. And now that I've got past that, I'm settling into it a little bit more. So I'm just gonna sit and read while I wait for them to get back. I think then Harry is gonna be cooking us food, which I'm very excited about. I'm always excited for food, and we'll just be doing like chill stuff tonight before we head out and do a bunch of fun stuff tomorrow.
Is it exactly in this time of year that makes the melancholy reappear? Oh,
I'm obsessed with the trumpet.
back and forth through dark roast coffee, salt, mist and sea, sand and amber trees. 'Cause it still feels like summer, but it's soaked in nostalgia slowly. All the leaves start turning brown. 'Cause it still feels like summer, and I simply don't wanna see the cold and sneak back in our town. 'Cause we lived when it was all bare feet, tan skin glistening beneath the heat, evening swirl into a bird song beat. God, it's now so very bittersweet, so I guess I'll just put on my favorite sweater and say goodbye to summer. I keep on forgetting times learn how to fly, and before I know it, it passes me by. Oh, I don't know why when life is beautiful I start to feel.
So I am, as you can probably tell, in Leanne's library. We are just about ready to head into town. We're gonna go get food at 6 by Nico, have a little browse with the time that we have, and then go and queue for Rare, which I think the queuing for general entry. Yeah, I nearly said general access, but it's early access. General entry starts at 3 p.m. But I did order some books to be delivered to Leanne's very last minute, because this whole thing has been so last minute for me, and I keep meaning to open them for you guys and then just not. So one of these is one that I've read and it's a book that I really like, and one is one that I kind of intended to get to. I've heard really good things about, and I was like, fuck it, the author's gonna be here, like I'll just order it, and if I don't like it, I'll deal with the consequences like a bitch always has to. So the one that I've read is Punk 57 by Penelope Douglas. This one is a new adult bully romance. I've read 2 Penelope Douglas books and I really like them. I love super over dramatic, angsty, borderline problematic contemporary romances, because I think that they're so much more entertaining. Like, I'm here for the drama. I appreciate sometimes a sweeter romance, but most of the time I'm looking for something that's entertaining, and Penelope Douglas definitely provides that. So this one I think is about pen pals. One's like a good girl, one's a bad boy, and they've never met. They live in neighboring towns, and I'm pretty sure that they end up attending the same school. And when our male main character meets our female main character, he realizes that she is absolutely nothing like she has portrayed herself to be in the letters, and she is a bit of a mean girl, so he kind of takes it upon himself to put her in her place. So bully romance, lots of red flags in here, but I ate it up. I read this on, I'm pretty sure it was Prime Reading to start off with, but because Penelope Douglas is here and I do love her books so much, I was like, well, the 2 that I've read anyway, the other one's Birthday Girl, I could not pass up this opportunity to meet her and have a little something signed. I'm pretty sure this was a 5-star read for me anyway, so it's not a horrible thing that I own it. And at Rare, some authors, especially the bigger ones, tend to do pre-order only, so unless you pre-ordered their books, you can't like buy anything from them directly. But if you could, there is also like Blackwell's and stuff there, which will have books by the authors for sale, so I might pick up something Penelope Douglas, but I shouldn't be buying books, and this isn't an exception, especially because I have one to be signed when I meet her. I don't need like tons. Saying that, I've brought tons of Scarlett St. Clair and Danielle L. Jensen books with me, but I had them already, so I had to. And then the other book that I picked up that I have not read is Lady of Darkness by, I don't know if it's Melissa K. Rorick or Rorich, but this one is a fantasy romance that I've been hearing really good things about. I think it was about 3 or 4 months ago, like everybody was reading this, and since the hype has died down a little bit, I'm actually surprised, because Melissa K. Rorick is not a ticketed, like a wristbanded author for Rare, which I really expected her to be with the hype that she got on TikTok like just earlier this year. I actually don't really know anything about this, but a lot of people who I have quite similar romance taste to enjoyed it. They haven't said it's like the best thing they've ever read, but enough that like I feel like I will enjoy this one. This was actually the runner-up for the last round, or the current round I guess, of my Patreon book club. It was very close between this and Carissa Broadbent, so I almost read it in time. However, I did not. So this is a trio of the most feared sisters on the continent, owned by a ruthless assassin lord. So one of them is presented with a job, and if she completes the assignment, her payment will be the revenge against the Fae Fire Prince that she has wanted for 10 years. This is all coming back to me now. So yeah, I don't love, because this is traditionally published. It has just been published by, is it Bloom? HQ? Yeah, it's been published by HarperCollins, and the original indie cover is the same as this, but it's like a matte black. I don't love the navy on this, like the blue tone. I do prefer the black, but I mean, this was also a lot cheaper than getting myself an indie copy, so I'll just suck it up. That is all I have for you right now. I haven't read very much. I'm like 130 pages into the Book of Life. Still don't feel like I'm vibing with it as much as I have the books in the past, but I also feel like it is an adjustment period in the first 100 pages of these books. I think my issue is that now that we're past the original setup and establishment of the romantic relationship, I said this before, but the romantic relationship is actually my least favorite thing in those books. Like, I don't like Matthew very much. He's a very old-fashioned kind of love interest, and that is fine in the context of the book. It's just not my personal preference, so I don't like swoon for him or anything. The romantic relationship is not what I'm in it for. I really like the atmosphere, the writing, and also like the overarching plot. So I feel like because of the establishment, like the romance is already established, it's going a little bit more into romantic interactions and like sex scenes, although they're not overly detailed, a little bit more than I care about as somebody who isn't rooting for the romance. But that is where I'm currently at, and I'll let you all know if I pick anything up at Rare today, or we are going to be shopping. If not today, then tomorrow. So I imagine something will be coming, some sort of haul will be coming your way at some point.
The amount of times that we have been like walking down Alright, guys.
I'm vlogging today, yeah.
Nothing.
I have returned from Rare day 2 and I'm actually really glad that I did not have that many authors that I intended to see, because it was a lot. Like, we left I think about an hour before it finished last night because the wristbands we had weren't up to the numbers that we had. Like, the authors hadn't called the numbers yet, and it would have been more beneficial for us to go back like this morning and kind of just walk into the lines. So we did that and still managed to spend like 5 hours there today as well. So I had a really good time. Actually, I know I've been saying that I'm not going next year, and I'm not going to do it because every year I say I'm going to be more prepared for the following event, and I'm just not. I'm less and less prepared every year. So next year for sure I'm going to be skipping Rare. But I did once again have a really good time, and I did make a couple of purchases. So from the free table, if y'all remember last year, I picked up Always Mine by Laura Pavlov. And this time we had Into the Tide by Laura Pavlov that was available. This one is the first book in the Cottonwood Cove series and is a best friend's little sister's romance. I think that Laura Pavlov has a variety of different like types of contemporary romance, but I feel like she writes a lot of small term romance, and there's just something about the synopses of her books, even though they're quite simple, they just sound really good to me. So hopefully I'll read and enjoy both of those. I also picked up The Book of Asriel by Amber V. Nicole. I'm pretty sure that this one is about gods. This was one that was on my Rare TBR that I didn't end up getting to. Like, I didn't get to most of them, but there's just something about the synopsis of this one that really appeals to me. I know that it is a very dark one, which also always intrigues me, and it was an excuse because it was there at the Blackwell's table to kind of pick up a physical copy of this one, and also, of course, to get it signed. And then I also picked up A Kiss of Iron by Claire Sager, and this one was purely because I'm currently reading it. I put that in quotation marks because I haven't actually started it. I didn't manage to start it on, I think, Tuesday night when I said that I was going to, and I haven't got through my like required daily pages of the Book of Life, so I haven't been making it to A Kiss of Iron. But I also, Claire Sager was really cool actually. I really enjoyed meeting her, and of course, as with the rest of them, signed and personalised. That's pretty much it. I had a good time again. The Edinburgh one seems so much bigger than the London one, and I don't know whether that's just because it's across multiple days. Today was a lot quieter than yesterday, which I wasn't expecting because last night was so busy, and I really thought because the majority of the authors that were there today were different from the ones yesterday, like they changed, and obviously like most of the ones that I wanted to see were there yesterday, but that doesn't mean that the ones that everyone wanted to see were there. So with it being a Saturday and like actually the weekend, I expected it to be a lot busier today than it was, but it was actually kind of chill compared to last night. But I did get to everything that I wanted to, which is great, and I'm excited for a very chill evening. So I'm gonna go and get a shower. I think that we are gonna play some Mario Kart, have dinner, and just have some less chaotic time than we have over like the last 24 hours. But I like Mrs. Dalloway. I feel like that's my vibe. Good evening. I am home now, and man, does it feel good to be home. I've had an amazing time. Like, it was a really good trip, and I got a chance to catch up with friends and like spend some quality time with people. And also, like, because of that, it was a super socially heavy trip, and I am ready to lie face down and not talk to anyone for like the next week. I actually got tickets to a book event. It would have been during this vlog because I think it was the day that I left, for Sarah A. Parker in Leeds at the beginning of October. But that's just like a day thing. It's just an evening thing. And aside from that, I don't have any plans until literally Halloween. And I'm not truly not mad about it at all after the kind of hectic like last couple of months that I've had. But Rare obviously is so intense. I met so many of you guys, which was so great. So thank you so much for anyone who came up and said hi. It was like lovely to meet you all as always. I also obviously spoke to a bunch of authors, which was really cool. A bunch of different ones that I have in the past, which was amazing. I obviously spent a lot of time with Leanne and Harry, and also like we spent all yesterday catching up with G. So it has been like full on the social front. I feel like you've gathered, I've not read very much. And I am sad about it because now I'm behind. So I'm probably gonna go to bed in like an hour. I haven't decided what my plan is for tomorrow. When I come back from a trip, I like to spend a day to kind of like decompress and reset. But I think I might actually do some editing, and I need to decide before I go to bed. Otherwise tomorrow is not going to be a productive day for me at all. But I also do want to get quite a bit of reading done. So I am like 248 pages into the Book of Life. I have been struggling a little bit with keeping track of what's going on and like what the point of this book is. But I feel like since I've read a more concentrated amount on the train, I'm feeling a little bit more on track with this now. And then I also have my anthology. So I guess my plan right now is, how many of the stories have I read in this at this point? It's the 9th today. So to be on track, I would have to be 9 stories in. And I know I'm definitely not, obviously, because I've been away and I didn't take it with me. But I have read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I've read 7. I'm a little bit of the way into the 8th. And then the 9th is only 16 pages. I think I'll definitely read the 8th today, like finish that one up, and then potentially read 2 tomorrow to get back on track, and also read a little bit of this. I'm thinking of reevaluating my plans as well, because I'm currently in the middle of a bunch of stuff, and I have a bunch of stuff on my TBR that I haven't even touched yet. So now that I'm back, I was gonna start Shelve It or Scrap It tomorrow, but I'm doing something a little bit different with the next episode. And so I feel like I want to push it a week and do another weekly reading vlog, which will obviously delay when you guys see Shelve It or Scrap It. But I feel like logistically, you've got a smudge and it's really annoying me. There we go. We've cleaned you up a bit. Oh, that's so much better. Yeah, that was a really bad smudge. My bad. But yeah, like logistically, I feel like the vlog itself will end up so much more cohesive if I take a week where I don't have anything really much on to knuckle down and get through some stuff. So I think that's what I'm gonna do. And today and tomorrow, I'll just see how much reading I can get done before I wrap up this vlog. Hello, good morning. The rain really do be raining today, and I'm here for it. You know, I've been dying for this autumnal weather. Weather essentially where I can just stay at home and do pretty much nothing and not feel bad about it at all. And the weather is definitely delivering. I'm cold, I love it. But I have a bunch of things to show you guys. One is something that I picked up in Edinburgh that I forgot to mention, and the other stuff is stuff that has arrived today. I'm now currently, before we get into that stuff though, I'm currently up to date with where I need to be in the Book of Witches, and I just read a story today that I really liked. So it is Met Swallow by Cassandra Carr, who is the author of a bunch of horror books. I don't know whether they're classed as novellas, but I'm pretty sure they're quite short books, and they have covers on them that like look like The Grudge. I think, is it like Nothing But Blackened Teeth or something like that? And they've always intrigued me, but I'm not the most, like I'm not the biggest horror girly, you know? I'm still discovering what I like, and I don't want to invest in a bunch of stuff like I did with romance and then discover that I hate a certain trope and I have tons of books with that trope. But I may check out Cassandra Carr after this, because the book that I read, or the story that I read should I say, was about a girl who had been murdered, and she is kind of, her body is possessed by this fox that takes the corpse, or is wearing the corpse and becoming the person that was murdered, back home and lives amongst her sisters while trying to figure out like who the murderer is. And I do need to give a content warning for this as well. I feel like it's pretty obvious when we're talking about witches, because these are not necessarily ooky spooky stories. A lot of them are centering on violence towards women. We have some that focus a little bit more on witch hunts and witch trials and that kind of thing, and also women persecuted or harmed by men because they are witches in some sort of way, and a lot of the stories do definitely go into that theme. But I did really like Met Swallow by Cassandra Clare, because this is an anthology. Like I said in my last vlog, I'm not going to mention it a lot, but if I do stumble across something that I enjoy, I'll be sure to let you know. Now into my stack of goodies. I'm very excited. So the thing that I picked up in Edinburgh was this print, very fitting to what we were talking about actually. These are, I think they're the Norns. They are the Norns, so they are from Norse mythology, but they are essentially the fates. Like they spin the web of like what is to come. And you know me, I love a gothy witchy aesthetic for my home, but especially like when it comes to prints and stuff. And I'm looking for kind of more gothic leaning things for the bedroom specifically, because obviously we painted it black with like jewel tones, and this is the kind of, it's like old Victorian parlour but with like a bit of a more modern, I don't want to say glam, like a modern bouginess, shall we say, is the vibe I'm going for in the bedroom. So I want some kind of like I want a raven print at some point as well for that. I don't know if the artist has a shop, but the artist on this is Annabelle Lewis, and if I can't link a shop, I will link their Instagram down below. I did receive 2 parcels today. The first one is a book from Waterstones. I think that this is going to be my pre-order of Somewhere Beyond the Sea by TJ Klune, which is great because that's on my TBR, which is normally like if I get a book and I'm not desperate to read it anytime soon, I would just open it in my unboxing, but I need to read this one this month because it is indeed Somewhere Beyond the Sea. How long is this one? Just under 400 pages, or exactly 400 pages, so that's pretty decent. This one is the sequel to The House in the Cerulean Sea, which is a book that I gave 5 stars to. I definitely don't think that The House in the Cerulean Sea needs a sequel, but while there is one, I'll give it a try because I loved it so much. And I'm pretty sure that this is set after The House in the Cerulean Sea because it's a sequel, but I also think that it focuses on Arthur, yes, and it delves into his backstory a little bit as well. I want to look under the, oh, because it was orange, I thought there might be something exciting under here, but no. This one I am reading this month because it's on my magical readathon TBR for a book that has a phoenix on the cover or in the title. And then the thing that I'm the most excited about. So if you guys don't know, a couple of years ago on Twitter, a bakery in Leeds went viral because they were investigated by like some sort of food hygiene establishment, like company. It was discovered, oh, it smells so good. It was discovered that they were using illegal sprinkles. So they were sprinkles that were imported from the US that had a bunch of E numbers that like is not legal to be used in food in the UK. So the guy, I think he's called Rich, who owns the bakery, was like, well, I'm never going to use a sprinkle again because English sprinkles are shit. And he went viral for how much of like a hissy fit, like full tantrum he threw over sprinkles. And as a result, like his bakery has gone massive. Now I do live near Leeds, so it is possible for me to go to the actual bakery. However, it's not in central Leeds, so I literally just never do. And they had a cake for a while that was called Bruce. It was named after the cake in Matilda, and it's a 15-layer chocolate cake. They have recently discontinued Bruce and they have just released Bertha. This company has like blown up massively since all of this sprinkle stuff happened. Essentially they do, you can go in store and get stuff, but they also do online drops twice a week and the cake sells out in minutes. And I'm always like, I'm the worst for being around at the time. You know, if it's something that I casually want, but I'm not like, it's not gig tickets or anything, I'm not gonna be there when they drop. She is heavy. I really need to be good as well because obviously I've just been away, so I have been like feasting like a queen. So this is my last spot of indulgence before I get my shit back together for a couple of months before I am once again away and feasting like a queen. I hope she looks good because obviously she's been posted, so she's also been like jiggled. Oh, she's in an extra box. Baby girl has been well packaged. So excited. This is like, it's one slice of cake. It's like 25,000 servings though. Is this stuck? The packaging on this is amazing. I'm gonna come like closer to you guys so that I can hold it up without it feeling precarious. Oh my God, look at the tissue paper. It says like sweet, thick, elegant Bertha. Oh my God. She is even better than I imagined. I wanted to order a slice for Curtis's birthday, but like you just can't guarantee that you can get one. So she smells amazing. The difference between Bertha and Bruce is that she has like a more palatable ganache. So it's milk chocolate instead of dark chocolate because dark chocolate's obviously super rich. Oh, I'm so excited. So absolutely no regrets, but yeah, I do need to kind of get back on track nutrition wise after I have devoured this, but obviously this is like at least 4 servings and I am sharing it, so it is what it is. But I have decided that I am going to be pretty chill today, but I am also going to get a little bit of work done. So I think I'm going to be hosting chemo sprints for one of my patrons that is currently like battling breast cancer like a badass, a little bit later on today, like this afternoon going into early evening, and I'm going to edit one video, and that's kind of like my compromise between being pretty chill and getting some work done. So I'm gonna, I have to pack a Vinted order as well, which is the first thing I'm gonna do. So I'm gonna crack on with that because I've spent most of my morning reading so that I can also get my workout in at some point, hopefully before sprints.
Still feels like summer, but it's soaked in nostalgia slowly. All the leaves, they're turning brown. Cause it still feels like summer, and I simply don't wanna see the cool wind sneak back in our town. But I guess I'll just put on my favorite sweater and say goodbye to summer.
I intended to wrap up this vlog after sprints last night, but when sprints finished, I had less than an hour left of my audiobook. So I just decided to wrap it up so that I could wrap up that book before I wrapped up this vlog. And it is a book that I've pretty much not spoken about at all in this vlog, but it's the one that I happened to finish, which is Norwegian Wood by Haruki Murakami. I didn't love this one, I really didn't. I said in my last vlog, maybe in this one, like Murakami is an author who writes books that are more about the points that are made as opposed to the plot. So this one is essentially a literary fiction. It is a story of a guy who is reminiscing on a girl that he used to know during a period of his life where he was at university. So he's kind of telling the story of this period of time, mainly through the women that he knew at that time. Content warnings in here, suicide is a massive one. Like suicide is a recurring theme through this, and I would say forms kind of the backbone of this novel. Considering that this was translated in like the early 2000s, I think, but it was originally published in 1987 and it is set in the 60s, I believe. So when you take that into account, I feel like this is quite a progressive novel considering like the attitude that Japanese culture has towards mental health, especially like when we're talking about the late 80s. Like this is not a super modern book. And so while obviously I can't speak on what Japan was like in the late 80s because I am not Japanese and I also was not alive then, I know that mental health is something that is often stigmatized in Japanese culture and that steps are being made to kind of undo that now, but obviously like it's a slow progress. And so when we're talking about like nearly 30 years ago, it's going to be completely different. So I feel like it was quite progressive in that sense, and I appreciated it for that element and like the talks of mental health and stuff in here, even though the representation is not what we would call exactly positive through a Western lens at all times. My problem with this book though is that it was so horny. And Haruki Murakami, like I've read the Wind Up Bird Chronicle as well, and uncomfortable sex scenes are a common part of Murakami books, but this took it to another level. There were 3 women in this book, and like I said, this book is kind of told like with these 3 women almost forming the structure of the novel. They are very much the focus of the novel. Content warnings in here for paedophilia and almost non-consensual sexual encounters like outside of the paedophilic element. Like it was really not fun to read. Murakami's writing style as well is kind of very cut and dry. Like it's very much this is what happened and then this is what happened. And like I said, like uncomfortable sex scenes are a Murakami thing, but it's not fun for me to listen to such like clinically descriptive sex scenes, and I didn't know that this was going to be so sexual going into it. I think if I had, I would not have listened to the audiobook because I don't listen to any romance in audio because I don't like listening to sex scenes or like romantic scenes or intimate scenes. Overall, like I did give this one 2 stars. Wasn't a big fan. The extreme amount of sexual content and that none of it was especially pleasant is the main reason why I gave it 2 stars. But then also on top of that, this is very much a slice of life, almost coming of age story. It is a man reflecting or telling the story of this like 2-3 year period of his life, mainly focusing on these 3 very odd women. I don't know whether they're supposed to be odd. They seemed very odd to me, and it just like wasn't my type of story. Like, it's not a story that I would have reached for. And the really funny thing is that I read this for demonology for Magical Readathon. The prompt was to read a book that a non-reader chose for you. So I had Curtis pick this, and he actually read this, but when I told him about the stuff that was happening, he was like looking at me like I was deranged, and I'm like, dude, you've read this book, you recommended it. He has no recollection of all of the really odd stuff in this book. So it was really fun to kind of tell him what was going on and see his reaction. But yeah, I'm very much interested in 1Q84 by Haruki Murakami. I did very much enjoy The Wind Up Bird. This one, I think, with it having such a contemporary focus and being very meandering without a plot, like y'all know I don't like slice of life stories. So when we spend a lot of time, like almost 400 pages, focusing on kind of mundane topics, it's just not for me. The audiobook though, narration, was very, very good. And I did enjoy that element of it. And I think that I would have really struggled if I hadn't listened to the audio, like if I'd tried to read this physically, especially because some of the chapters are like 100 pages. In terms of everything else that I'm reading, I'm 200 pages into this, which I'm happy about because that's almost halfway actually. When we still have a few days until we're halfway through the month, which implies that like the second half of the book, the stories are a lot shorter. And this one, I made it almost halfway. Yeah, to page 315 out of 637, so very, very close to halfway in this one. Like I said, I did originally intend to do the next episode of Shelve It or Scrap It for my next vlog, but because of how kind of behind I'm feeling on my TBR and how many books I'm currently reading at once, I don't really want to juggle that as well. So I'm gonna give myself an extra week where I have no plans to do anything. The weather is very cold as well, I'm enjoying it, to see how much progress I can make, not only through my Magical Readathon TBR, but I just have like a regular monthly TBR as well that I need to make some progress in. But I do hope that you guys have enjoyed this vlog if you made it this far. I've had a really fun week. I had a really good time at Rare actually, and I've been thinking a lot about my Kindle and the books on there that I want to read, like all of my romance, because Rare makes me, it's like when I go to the library or a bookstore or watch BookTube, it really makes me want to read. Going to Rare makes me want to devour romance, which I can't do right now, but it is something that is definitely like kind of on my mind. But yeah, I do hope you've enjoyed this vlog if you've made it this far. If you have, please don't forget to like if you liked it, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye.
Oh, you bite your friend like chocolate. You say you're go and nobody knows, with guns hidden under our petticoats. We're never gonna quit it, no, we're never gonna quit it, no.